Good afternoon, everyone. This is Carrie Ebersol, and I am the director of the Office of 60 by 30. We're so excited today to provide another opportunity for a town hall discussion with questions and answers focused on the Southeast Michigan region. So we're joined today by President of the Oakland Community College, Peter Provenzano. We have Tyria Kindred with the Wayne RISA. We have Terry Weems, the interim president and CEO of Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation. And we're expecting Curtis Beeland of CMS Energy to also join us. And with a focus of the opportunity is good for filling high skill and pay in demand jobs. So with that, we're going to kick things off with just a short presentation and overview of the future for Frontliners, and then we'll kick it on to our next speaker. So with that, let's go into our first slide, please. There's the magic. First slide. Okay. This is, you see the 60 with the graduation cap. You may be thinking, what does this all mean? Well, I'll tell you, the Office of 60 by 30 is really focused around the governor's initiative to build educational attainment to 60% of working age adults by the time of 2030. So we are currently at 48% and working towards that 60%. And we know we have to do three things. We have to close the skills gap, increase opportunity, and make Michigan a more competitive place. And I always want to recognize that there's a couple of reasons or methods to the madness, if you will. We know educational attainment is directly tied to wages, individual wages, as well as helping to recession-proof positions with these in-demand jobs. So those are two really, really important things when we think about supporting our families in the state, but it also does a wonderful thing for our business community. Outside of filling the jobs they need to be competitive, they are obtaining the talented workforce they need to be successful. So it is a win-win and directly correlates to our economic prosperity. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Kamara making the magic happen. There we go. What is Futures for Frontliners? It was like a little pregnant pause before we got to this slide. So what is Futures for Frontliners? It's a state of Michigan scholarship. It's meant for essential infrastructure workers without a high school diploma or college or post-secondary degree. And this is one avenue that we are providing for tuition-free access to Michigan's public community colleges. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit later in terms of what are required for those essential workers. But this is, again, a pathway for individuals to, increase their credentialing to get into those high-paying, recession-proof jobs. Kamara. Yes, pathways to attainment. Okay, we have two pathways in this program. We refer to Path 1 as for frontliners who have a high school diploma or equivalent, and that would be taking courses at the community college level. The path 2 are for those individuals and frontliners that have yet to receive their high school diploma. So we are working through coordination with adult education providers around the state. We estimate this total population of folks that could qualify for either of these paths, about 625,000 individuals. Kamara, you're going to be famous. You may be behind the camera, but website and application. Okay, we have tried to work the process as easy as possible for folks to apply for this program. So applicants can apply now at Michigan.gov/frontliners. So you will need access to the internet, an email address, and a social security number to apply. Our application deadline is December 31st, and you must enroll in classes next year during the 2021 semesters. So that is really the core of the application process through the state of Michigan. But of course, there's additional steps by completing the FAFSA form, as well as applying and enrolling in your local community college. Next slide, please. Applicant update. So this is really extraordinary. We are over 72,000 applications to date. So there has been absolutely an outpouring of folks from around the state that are applying for this program. We have kind of a short demographic breakdown of gender, as well as the different backgrounds for Path 1 and Path 2. And you can see it's pretty small on the slides, but by county for Southeast Michigan, we see in Oakland County, there's over 5,800 applications. In Macomb, it's over 6,400. Wayne County, it's over 13,000. You look at Lenawee, 140, 741 for Livingston. I won't go through all of them, but you can see the breakdown by county of the number of applications we're coming in across the region. So we, again, and we're good to see the outpouring of demand and the desire to take this tuition-free opportunity to improve skills and also develop that skilled talent we now employ. So let's go to the next slide. And I should say, I finally figured out it wasn't Kamara that was giving me those long pauses. It's actually a 20-second delay probably that I see on my screen from when she clicks. So Kamara, thank you for working with us behind the scenes to make this all possible. So with that, I want to kick it over to Chancellor Provenzano, President of Oakland Community College, to discuss community college enrollment and supports available for students. Take it away.
Thank you, Carrie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. Well, we are so excited at Oakland Community College, and I would say on behalf of all of our community college partners about the futures for frontliners. First of all, it's no better way to honor our frontline workers that put their lives on the line and work so hard during this pandemic. And so I want to really thank the state of Michigan and the governor for making it possible. And those results that Carrie just shared with us, we're just so pleased with the tremendous response that we're seeing. And this is important because, as it showed on Carrie's slide, we know that 75% of the Michigan jobs in the future will require a degree or a credential. And we also know, and the data shows, that when you have a degree or credential, you have the ability to earn more money during your career. And so that's one of the reasons why Oakland Community College is so committed to Michigan's 60 by 30. Actually, in Oakland County, we're stretching ourselves a little bit, Carrie, as you know, and we are going to push real hard to get to 80% degree and credential attainment by 2030. And so in order to do that, we really have to do something different. We have to reach deeper into our community and really explain to residents that there are all of these pathways to prosperity that exist at a community college. And I think that Futures for Frontliners really helps with that conversation. We have at Oakland Community College a team of people that are just waiting, and we're taking phone calls, we're answering questions. And one of the things that we're hearing is students, residents, there's a lot of anxiety out there during this pandemic, and they're concerned about how do they get started. They're curious about the support services that we have, and I want to assure everyone that all of our student services have been placed online. They're fully remote. Counseling, our academic support center, our library is open 24/7, and so we have all of the support services that we are famous for. They're all online during this pandemic, and I also want to convey to students out there who are working full-time, and they may be trying to manage their home, and they are now a full-time teacher because they're helping their kids learn from home. And you might be saying, well, how do I work full-time, take care of my kids, and go to school part-time? Well, that's what we specialize in. Over 70% of our students are part-time, and so we're here to help. Give us a call. There are resources on our website to also help you. We're doing some virtual live admissions, and we are also going to employers. We're visiting with employees right at their place of employment, sitting down, helping them find their passion and their pathway. Things that they're interested in right now, cybersecurity is really hot. Police, fire academy are very popular. Robotics, welding, auto servicing, auto collision, all very high paying, high demand jobs that we have programs at OCC. And I also want to mention that over 50% of our students transfer to a university, one of our university partners. And so our general education classes are also extremely popular. So in closing, I want to give everybody else a chance to answer questions. I just want to say that with the partnership between the Futures for Frontliners and community colleges, there's no better time to come to a community college. And with our partnership, I just encourage all students to jump on a pathway to prosperity, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chancellor. And I got to tell you, that's the exciting thing. While we have the state goal of 60% by 2030, I'm so glad you mentioned Oakland County's leadership at setting your goal at 80%. We're going to be looking forward to communities around the state and looking at where their current educational attainments are at and creating those specific regional goals. So again, thrilled at your leadership and thank you for being supporters of these initiatives. So with that, next up we have Tyria Kindred of Wayne Risa discuss local supports for high school completion and post-secondary training. Take it away.
Thank you. So today I want to talk about one of the paths for future frontliners, which is for those who need to obtain their high school or diploma or credential. In Southeast Michigan, we have numerous opportunities to assist the population. There are over 70 locations that offer adult education services in the Southeast Michigan area, and those programs offer flexible scheduling. Currently, there's in-person instruction, there's online instruction, there's also the hybrid approach where you could either be 100% online or you could do a combination of in-person and online instruction. Again, there are over 70 locations currently. For last year, we had over 9,000 participants in our adult education programs, and we represented in our Southeast Michigan area, we represented about 1/3 of the population in the state that took advantage of these services. So some of the programming that we offer is adult basic education, which is for individuals who are below the 9th grade level. And then we also have high school equivalency for those who are interested in getting either completing their high school diploma, finishing those credits, or obtaining their high school equivalency credentials such as the GED. We also offer English as a second language programming for those who need assistance with that. We also do wraparound services. Most of our programs are partnered with local community organizations and Michigan Works, and also career training, which would definitely help with those as they transition to that post-secondary option for that additional training and certifications. If you could go to the next slide. So part of the some of the training programs that are incorporated in the adult ed programs to help you transition again into post-secondary or college would be integrated education and training. So those are programs where the instruction is directly tied to a career option. For example, business, information technology, or accounting, or even medical. So participants receive adult education instruction specifically aligned to those career areas that they want to pursue. We also have special programs where participants can enroll in adult education programs and also be enrolled in career technical training programs such as CNC machining, manufacturing, information technology. And then there's also workplace literacy for those who need to build their skills on the job. They're currently working or employed, and they need some additional skill development. So again, we offer a variety of programs across Southeast Michigan that individuals could take advantage of. Most of our programs are free to individuals. Some do offer a low tuition fee, but that's usually waived if participants are eligible. If you could go to the next slide. So to get additional information about the adult education programs and opportunities available, you can go to the Michigan.gov Frontliners website, and there's a link there for high school completion. You could also go directly to the Michigan.gov website. It's Michigan.gov/adult education. And then there's also a website specific for Metro Detroit, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties, DetroitMetroAdultEd.com. So if you go to any of those links, you will get access to program offerings, locations, and contact information.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Taria, and thank you to Wayne Risa and all the amazing supports you offer the community. Next up, we have Terry Weems, Interim President and CEO of the Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation. Terry?
Sure, thank you. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for having me and hosting this town hall. We're very excited to be able to partner in this program. Across the Southeast region, the Southeast Michigan Works agencies are available for support. We're well positioned to play a supporting role for this program in a number of ways. We can provide career navigation and guidance assistance to guide informed decisions regarding options for people. We can work to support individuals enrolling in a program that is in demand and supported by regional employers. We can assess individuals for eligibility for other programming, assist with job placement after training is complete, and provide supportive services as needed to ensure individuals have the support necessary to persist to graduation. We recognize that in addition to obtaining the education or credential individuals desire, that sometimes people are faced with barriers or difficulties when it comes to achieving their educational goals or their employment goals. Specific supports that we have include moral support or career support. We can often assist participants with transportation related to education or getting to employment. We can assist with access to technology, whether that's hardware, software, or internet access. We can supply related items such as books or lab equipment, and we provide ongoing career counseling throughout the process. So it's not just about getting started, but it's about staying engaged and moving through the process, and our career advisors are skilled at doing that. Michigan Works agencies offer a wide variety of work and learn options as well, and a variety of other financial supports to help individuals maintain income while in training. For those looking to obtain a high school credential, Michigan Works partners with adult education providers in our communities. Here in Detroit, for example, we partnered with Detroit Public Schools to offer high school completion. We're very excited that the Futures for Frontliners model features a combination of high school completion and occupational training, which will prepare completers for in-demand jobs in the region. For those looking to pursue an associate degree or recognized credential, we partner with community colleges and training providers to help participants. We're also supporting career pathway information to show an individual where they could enter an industry based on their current qualifications and what their future qualifications may mean to advance throughout that career pathway and actually achieve their long-term.
All right.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, she's back.
Can you?
It's Terry.
Okay, great. So I think I may have left off when I was talking about our connection to employers and helping them understand the program and encouraging participation with their current workforce. This is an excellent opportunity for employers to take incumbent workers and upskill them for positions within the company to support advancement. Ultimately, we're all excited about getting people upskilled and into employment. For the next slide, just wanted to take you through some of the career pathways that are in demand in our region. I won't go through all of these. I'm sure that you can work through them, but the following industries and occupations are in demand and require an associate's degree or other recognized credential. I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly. If you have want more information, obviously our Michigan Works career advisors can take us through that. But in manufacturing, there's CNC operators, forklift, machinists, welders, among other things. In construction, we've got carpenters, electricians, plumbers that are in demand. In the next slide, that's where we've got the construction stuff. Sorry, this is a little bit delayed. In healthcare, we've got nursing, dental, medical, therapists, and technicians. In the next slide, we talk about business and technology. We've got administrative assistants, customer service, insurance, office assistants, managers, legal assistants. On the technology side, computer network specialists, user support, technology specialists, help desks, and web development. And then a variety of others across other industries, including automotive and in teaching. And there are lots of jobs in the energy sector as well. So just wanted to make sure that folks were understood that there are lots of in-demand jobs in the region. Again, this is certainly not the end-all list, but I did want to give you guys a pretty good sense of the occupations that are in demand. We're pretty excited to support Futures for Frontliners, and we look forward to engaging with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Terry. Wonderful work.
Information as well. Sorry, Carrie.
Oh, good. You said thank you, and I was ready to jump in. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. I mean, the Michigan Works partnership with all the regional representatives around the state have been incredible, and I think this is one piece that we're trying to keep incredibly in focus, that, the educational pathway and attainment is one piece of this, but we want to match that attainment, those credentials, with a job at the other end. And Michigan Works is the partner that's going to help make this all happen. So I just really want to thank you for your time today and those in-demand jobs in the region. So our final presenter today will be Curtis Beelan with CMS Energy to discuss the opportunity is good for filling high-skilled, in-demand jobs. So Curtis, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for listing off all of the high-demand jobs. I was hoping that the energy industry was towards the top of that list, but you didn't miss us, so I appreciate that. Thank you all for having us as a part of this town hall today. When we think of Futures to Frontliners and recession-proof careers, the energy/utility industry should be top of mind. We are a resilient, service-oriented organization that, we have not paused at all during this current COVID crisis. Our demand remains the same to keep everyone comfortable with the electrical services and natural gas services to your home. So we are very, very recession proof and very high demand roles that we have. We have great relationships with multiple community colleges across the state. And some of the areas that we really focus on with them are our electric lines apprentice programs, as well as a lot of our technician roles in designing the services from our main, be it either electrical or gas, to structures. Those really capitalize on skills that are learned from AutoCAD and drawings of that nature. So those technician positions, which are a very high demand role that we have at the company, they start somewhere between $25 to $30 an hour. The majority of our gas line construction workers and welding positions, those all start above $30 an hour. So if you think of, again, high demand, high pay, great careers to provide a good, sustainable income, Consumers Energy has those roles for individuals that are seeking to skill up a little bit through community colleges and potentially land into some of our roles at the company. We have over 150 job families, meaning we do a lot more than pipes and wires, from all of the positions that were just recently discussed, from admin to accounting to legal, everywhere across the board, we have a position available. Our throughput or hiring needs remain steady at somewhere between 700 and 1,000 per year, because we are experiencing a high level of retirement. About 40% of our workforce is eligible to retire within the next 5 to 10 years, and they have been. So our jobs will remain in demand for the near future, and we're excited to be a part of this program. And yes, please think of us. If there's anyone that is interested in a role at Consumers Energy, please go to consumersenergycareers.com, take a look at what's out there. And also, I provided some materials to the group for this presentation, and hopefully that can be distributed to all of the people that are listening in today. So with that, again, I'm so proud and thankful that you all invited us. And if you have any questions for me, I'll stick around. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis, and thank you all of our panelists for presenting their partnership as it relates to helping support our state and communities, and folks achieving additional training and filling those in-demand jobs. And then we're just so proud of the Futures for Frontliners program and the meaning not only for folks to pursue keep pursuing their educational journey, but also reflecting on our gratitude for these essential employees that often put themselves in harm's way to ensure that we had groceries on our table, and we're able to get through those initial times during this pandemic. So again, we're just thrilled, and we are now at the point in the program where we can take some questions to help fill in any blanks that maybe we missed during our presentation. We want to be here to answer the questions for you. So feel free to put those in the chat room as you're on the this isn't a Facebook Live, but this live event. Put it in the chat room, and we'll have Erica with our team kind of help moderate those questions. Erica, do we have any questions?
We sure do. We have quite a few. So again, there's a Q&A tab. It looks like a little chat bubble. Feel free to submit them, and we'll get to as many as we can for the remainder of this session. The first question asks, how many credit hours per semester does Futures for Frontliners scholarship cover? And is there enough to cover textbooks?
I'm actually going to introduce a colleague of mine, Ava Atari, who's our program director for the Path 1 Futures for Frontliners. So Ava, why don't you take that question?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So the answer to this question is that you have to be enrolled at least half time, which is about 6 credits in a semester to be able to maintain your award, but there's no cap on the maximum number of credits. At least for Futures for Frontliners, there's not. Your community college may have a cap on the number of credits that you can take in a semester, but yeah, there's no maximum cap for us in a semester. And in terms of covering textbooks, Futures for Frontliners covers traditional tuition, mandatory fees, and contact hours. So in terms of covering non-tuition items, I actually think that might be a great question for Peter. In terms of the types of resources that the community college can help you identify to cover those other costs.
Sure, I could add that there are scholarships available, financial aid that also helps to cover the cost of textbooks. And depending on the type of class, sometimes the class has a textbook assigned to it, and it's part of the tuition that you pay. And that might be something that Futures for Frontliners may want to look into. On occasion, that does happen, and the state may want to decide whether or not that's covered. I know a lot of this is all new to all of us as we sift through these different questions and scenarios.
All right, thanks for that. On to our next question. If we receive FAFSA, can that be used for our books?
Ava?
Yeah, actually, I wonder if Peter would be best to answer this, but so if you apply for, one of the reasons that we require you to submit a FAFSA is to see what kind of federal aid you have eligible to cover your costs. Futures for Frontliners is only traditional tuition, contact hours, and mandatory fees, as I was saying. So there are other any sort of non-tuition restricted gift aid or awards other than Pell can be applied to books and other items.
Thank you. And how soon can people apply to school, Ava?
Yeah, so you have to enroll in either winter, spring, summer, or fall 2021. I believe some of the community colleges have already started their enrollment for winter semester. Again, Peter, if you have anything to add there, please do. But if you're looking to enroll in winter or spring, you could probably start enrolling now.
I could just really add that for many community colleges, winter semester enrollment has already begun. For Oakland Community College, it's in a few weeks, and so yes, please apply to the state so that you're able to grant approval so that you can apply to a community college. Classes are filling up fast.
All right, and how long do they give you to complete your program? Ava, can you talk a little bit about the timeline for the scholarship?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Futures for Frontliners, there's a couple of requirements that you have to meet to maintain the award. And as long as you meet those requirements, you maintain you complete your FAFSA every year, you are enrolled at least half time, you have to maintain the satisfactory academic progress of the community college you attend. So as long as you maintain these requirements, you can keep the award until one of two things happens. One, it's been 4 years since Treasury received your first tuition payment, or you've received your associate's degree. So it's one of those two things. You have to meet one of them, whichever comes first.
Thank you. And does Futures cover a bachelor's degree if the community college offers a bachelor's?
Great question. We get this one a lot. So Futures for Frontliners allows you to attend community college tuition free if you're pursuing an associate's degree or industry recognized certificate. Unfortunately, right now, bachelor's degrees are not covered under Futures for Frontliners.
And do you have to do anything else besides registering at the college of your choice and applying for FAFSA? If you do these two things, is there anything else you have to do?
Great question. Yeah, so the first thing you have to do is submit your Futures for Frontliners scholarship application. The second thing is to apply to your community college that you want to attend, submit your FAFSA, and the fourth is to enroll in classes starting in 2021. So winter, spring, summer, or fall 2021.
All right, and the next question is about verifying eligibility. So Ava, can you explain what type of documentation is needed to verify work during the pandemic period?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you put in your Futures for Frontliners scholarship application, we actually do an automatic check with the wage record data to see whether you worked during that time period. You know, in terms of individuals who are maybe self-employed or paid in cash or temp or contract workers, we might not be able to verify that information automatically. So you might receive an email from us that says, you know, we need some additional information from you before we accept or deny your application. We'll ask you to complete an employment verification form. It's a one-page form that you and your employer can work on together to complete the form. It has to be printed and signed and then returned back to us. I'm speaking specifically about Path 1. Path 2 has a similar approach, but it should be returned to them. The instructions are all on the top of the form about who it should be returned to, but that's the way we would verify that information.
Thank you. And let's see, it looks like a question from Anne. What will the process be to refer someone to the Michigan Work Center in our area?
Terry, do you want to take that question?
Oh, you're on mute, Terry.
Was the question, how do community colleges refer people to Michigan Works agencies?
Yes, what is the process to refer someone to the Michigan Works in their area?
Well, we provided our contact information. So, you know, all a person has to do is just give us a call or schedule an appointment. For right now, we're accepting appointments only during this time. So if someone gives us a call, makes an appointment, we'll gladly, you know, have a chat and discuss their career options and opportunities for us to provide support as they go through community college.
Thank you, Terry. All right, another one for Ava. When do applicants find out if they have been accepted or approved to participate?
So if you're talking about the scholarship, once you submit your application, in about 7 to 10 days, business days after you hit submit, we'll let you know either you've been accepted, you know, we were able to identify that you worked during that time period based on your wage record data, and you know, you should go on to the next steps, which I mentioned earlier was apply to community college, submit your FAFSA, enroll in classes, or we might email you to say, we need additional information from you, please complete this employment verification form. And then depending on when you return the form back to us and how you return it back to us, that process might take a little bit longer, but our customer care center's information is on the form and all over our website. So if you have questions about the form and how to complete it, that information's on there. Please give us a call. We would love to be able to help you to complete it.
All right, and I don't have a high school diploma. If I apply for Futures for Frontliners now, enter an adult education program to complete high school in 2021, will the scholarship still be available to cover my community college tuition if I enter community college after I finish high school completion, even if I start at the community college in 2022?
Great question. I'm actually going to kick that over to Erica Luce. Are you on the call, Erica?
I sure am. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, great question. For individuals that are on Path 2 that are working on their high school diploma, the eligibility and maintaining eligibility period is very similar to what Ava shared for Path 1. But for Path 2, as you're working on your high school diploma or equivalency and complete that, you would have up to 4 years from the date that you first enrolled in adult education classes or until you earn your associate's degree, whichever happens first. So absolutely, you would still be able to start community college in 2022 and still be supported.
Thank you, Erica. All right, our next question is from Lisa, and Lisa asks, can can you speak a little bit more about who is considered an essential infrastructure worker? Who would be eligible? Ava?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So during the spring shutdown, the governor issued 2 executive orders. I think they're 21 and 70. She on there listed, using federal guidance, the industries that were essential to keeping our state running, and some additional infrastructure workers on there as well. Actually, that list is on our website. So if you go to the frequently asked questions page under community college or high school completion, the same information is there. But we have a question that addresses this. It lists those, and each of those are hyperlinked. So if you click on one of the essential industries, it will give you some examples about who these individuals, some of the example employers of who would be hired under these different industries. So that list is there. Please take a look. And if you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
All right, and after being registered for classes, how will the school know to contact Futures for Frontliners to forward our tuition bill to you guys?
Yeah, great question. I don't know, Peter, do you want to answer that one?
You know, that's a great question. I'm wondering if Carrie knows. I believe you contact us, if I'm not mistaken, and we would know in the system, encoded in the system, but that I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, so in the, I'll take a stab at answering this, but when you apply for Futures for Frontliners, in the application process, you have to create a username and password for the Michigan Student Scholarships and Grants student portal. So in that, with all of the other scholarships and grants, Futures for Frontliners is listed there. So as a student, you can look in and see, what your application status is for the scholarship, and that's also a way for the community colleges to access and see if you have that scholarship or not. And so when it comes time for your tuition bill, they'll submit it to Treasury, and Treasury will take that credit off of the tuition bill.
Perfect. And how many credits do we need to take in a semester to stay eligible for the Futures for Frontliners program?
Yeah, so you have to be enrolled at least half-time, which is about 6 credits a semester.
And how much is the Futures for Frontliners scholarship dollars per semester?
So it's not really per semester in that way. It depends on the individual's circumstances and how much. So the way that it's a last dollar scholarship. So first will be any sort of tuition restricted scholarships or awards that you receive. For instance, the Michigan Competitive Scholarship, the federal Pell Grant will go first, and then Futures for Frontliners will cover whatever those other 2 don't, or whatever those other ones don't. And again, this will cover just your traditional tuition, contact hours, and mandatory fees. So it really is a case-by-case basis on each person and how much Futures for Frontliners is applied.
All right, and Ava, can you talk a little bit about the application process and if there are any options for those who may not be able to access the online application?
Yeah, so the application is online. It's about 10 minutes. Takes about 10 minutes to do so. If you're not able to go online to do it, I think that's actually a really great question for Terry, actually. I know you guys mentioned that you have supports for individuals who need access to the internet or access to devices. So Terry, do you have any thoughts on that?
On how folks can get access to technology?
Yeah, exactly.
So the way it generally works is we schedule an appointment with someone to understand their eligibility for a variety of programs that we have. To the extent that folks are eligible, we would understand what their needs are, which could include technology. There's a program across southeastern Michigan right now to provide folks with access to laptops and internet connectivity right now. So all someone would have to do is make an appointment with the Michigan Works Agency to understand their eligibility for any one of those programs or services.
Thank you. And let's see, Is Futures for Frontliners covering our tuition? Then why do we need to apply for FAFSA?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I mentioned earlier, Futures for Frontliners is a last dollar program. And so it will be applied after any sort of federal aid that you may or may not receive, depending on your circumstances. So the FAFSA is required to go first. You have to submit your FAFSA. You also have to do this for other scholarships and grants as well. It's a requirement. So yeah, with Future for Frontliners being last dollar, it has to go. You have to then submit the FAFSA first, and then so we can see how much Future for Frontliners will be applied to your tuition.
All right, and a question here from Jennifer. She says, I have a high school student that worked during the pandemic and continues to work. Does the application states that the applicants need to have a high school diploma? Does this mean she would not be eligible for the 2 years at community college under the program?
Yeah, hi Jennifer, great question. So for Path 1, there are two pathways for Futures for Frontliners. One path is for frontline workers who already have their high school diploma or expect to get it by the scholarship application deadline, which is December 31st. And the second one is for frontline workers who are still need to complete their high school diploma and don't expect to have it by December 31st. But you have to have graduated, and please, Erica Luce, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you cannot be still in a K through 12 program. So you should have graduated from high school at that point already. And so if you haven't graduated from high school or received your high school diploma or equivalent by that time for either pathway, then you would not be eligible for Futures for Frontliners.
Yeah, correct. I was just going to add, Ava, I think you covered everything. For Path 2, the eligibility does state for those that don't have a high school diploma or equivalent during the application period or by the close of the application period, there is also a requirement they cannot be enrolled in high school. So unfortunately, at this time, anybody that is in high school or a high school student would not be eligible for either path.
All right, thank you for that. We have a question from Angela, and she's wondering if there are income restrictions with this program, or is it open to anyone who worked in an essential infrastructure role throughout the pandemic? If a student is eligible for the Pell Grant or other financial aid, would they be exempt?
So there are no income restrictions with this program. If you were a frontline worker and you meet all of the other eligibility requirements for Futures for Frontliners, then you would be eligible to receive the scholarship, regardless of the income. So if you received a Pell Grant or not, sorry, if the student is eligible for the Pell Grant or the financial aid, would they be exempt? No, but I would love to know more about this. If you have specific questions to yourself, if you want to ask me directly, you want to send me your email address, I'm happy to follow up on that.
Thanks for that. And our next question is from Allie, who says she filled out an application and is wondering what to do next. She has not received a congratulations email.
Hi, Allie. Yeah, great question. So I think it would depend on your specific situation. If you filled out an application, you would have, it depends on when you filled out the application. So when you hit submit, it takes about 7 to 10 business days for us to get back to you and say either congratulations, you've been accepted, or we need a little bit more information from you to determine your eligibility for the scholarship. So if it's been 7 to 10 business days, so not counting weekends or holidays, since you've applied and you're not sure, you can also check the student portal status. If you go on our website, you can check, there's a button for check my application status, and you can go through that and look. If you have no idea how to do this, please call our customer care center. They're more than happy to help you. I'm going to put the number in the chat, which I think has already been shared, but I'll share again so that you can give them a call and figure out what happened.
All right. And when is the latest date an individual can begin the program?
I'm not sure I follow with this question. So for for the scholarship application, you have to have submitted it by December 31st. That's the latest that you can apply for Futures for Frontliners. But the other steps, you have to meet the other deadlines for them. So for instance, it depends on which semester of school you want to apply for, which school you want to apply for. You have to be enrolled in 2021, either winter, spring, summer, or fall. So those timelines will depend on the community college that you're applying to.
All right. This one might be best for Erica. Do students who are already in an adult education qualify for either of the Futures for Frontliners paths?
Yeah, absolutely. So depending on, as Ava had mentioned, your status for your high school diploma, where you'll be at the end of that application period, would depend on which path to apply for. So if you're currently enrolled in adult education and you anticipate that you'll have your high school diploma or equivalency by the end of December, then you would be eligible. Once you obtain that credential, then you would apply for path 1. If you don't believe that you'll have that by the end of this year, then you would be eligible to apply for path 2.
All right, and Ava, I have some college. Could I use credits from 2004 to complete my associate's degree?
That is a great question. I might actually ask Peter. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe when you look at the rules from the state of Michigan, as long as you do not have a degree or certificate, you would be able to use those credits.
So actually, yes, sorry, Peter, to cut you off. If you have a certificate, that's okay, as long as you don't already have an associate's or bachelor's degree. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and how will I know that my program will be covered, and does it cover the cost of books for nursing program? If you received acceptance email, is there anything else to do as far as verification?
So you have to be enrolled in a Pell eligible program. My recommendation would be to contact the community college that you're planning to attend. They'll have more specific information about the different types of programs that would be covered by Futures for Frontliners. In terms of cost of books, Futures for Frontliners only covers tuition, mandatory fees, and contact hours, so would not cover books or other things. Sorry, and if you received an acceptance email, is there anything else to do as far as verification? I'm not sure what you mean by verification, but if you received an acceptance email for the scholarship program, the next steps would be to apply to your local community college or whichever community college in Michigan you're planning to attend, to submit your FAFSA and to enroll in classes in 2021.
Thanks, Ava. And are all Michigan community colleges familiar with how the Frontliner Scholarship will work? Does it go through a Pell Grant approval?
I'm not familiar with the Pell Grant approval. Maybe Peter is, but we are working with all of the Michigan community colleges about this scholarship program. We are actually working on guidance for them as well to assist with any sort of questions that they may have. And we've been working really closely with them through this process. So.
I would only add that, well, one, confirm that you have been working very closely with community colleges and the Michigan Community College Association, so we really appreciate that. So community colleges are very much aware of the process. I would say me specifically, I'm not exactly sure if it goes through the exact Pell Grant approval per se, but I have heard our team talk about the treatment on our end is very similar to how we handle Pell, including the FAFSA application and so on and so forth.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, and how will our tuition be paid? Do we need to tell the school we are in the Futures for Frontliners program?
Yeah, great question. So when you apply for Futures for Frontliners, your scholarship will be in our student portal system. And so the colleges have access to who's been accepted and they can see in their system. So if you let the community college know, you don't have to, but if you let the community college know, they can look it up and confirm in their system. But when they do the billing process, they'll bill Treasury, and the credit will come off of your tuition bill.
And can I qualify for the program if I've already enrolled in a community college this fall semester?
Yes. Yeah. So if you're in, as long as you don't have your associate's or bachelor's degree yet, if you're enrolled in an associate degree program right now or a certificate program, you can apply for Futures for Frontliners. As long as it's a Pell eligible program, you meet the requirements, then yeah, you can take advantage of Futures for Frontliners.
I would only, just to jump in real quick,
Yeah.
just to clarify that the Futures for Frontliners funding would not be available to them until the winter semester. You couldn't apply it to your fall classes, correct?
Yes, that's absolutely true. Thanks, Peter. I
Just
appreciate
want to
you.
clarify that. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And Alex is asking if there is an age limit to apply for Frontliners.
So for each of the two pathways, we differ. This is one of the ways in which we differ. For Path 1, there is no age limit, but you must have your high school diploma or equivalent already, or by December 31st, which is the scholarship application deadline. For Path 2, Erica, please jump in, but you have to be at least 18 years old.
Yep.
Great.
I just want to clarify too, for anyone, Path 1 is those who've already completed high school and are going to community college, and then the other path there would be for those who need to complete high school first. All right, and another question here from Patrice. If Futures for Frontliners is last dollar, how does that work if I'm working with MRS for support with training and supplies such as books? I understand MRS is also a state agency.
Yeah, great question. I actually think this would be the perfect question for MRS specifically, to understand how that would work with their program. If they're covering books and other things, Futures for Frontliners does not. We cover traditional tuition, mandatory fees, and contact hours. But a great question for MRS.
Hey, Ava, it's Stephanie. I can kind of jump in, and I think you did a great job answering that. If the individual is an MRS participant, meaning they're enrolled in the program, this is where we'd love to braid the fundings and have, MRS or another federal program provide support where they are able to, and the Futures for Frontliners to support on the tuition side.
Thanks for that addition, Stephanie. All right, there's a 2.0 GPA. I believe they're referring to the requirement. Is there any other requirement related to completion rate? If a student drops all their classes, the drop will not impact GPA. Can a student continue with Futures for Frontliners if they need to drop all their classes during a particular semester?
Yeah, so I would love to know more about this particular situation. I think it's hard for me to give you like an exact yes or no answer. But in order to maintain the Futures for Frontliners scholarship, there's a couple of steps that I mentioned earlier. One of them is you have to actually maintain the satisfactory academic progress of the community college that you're attending. And if you don't meet your school's satisfactory academic progress, you have to at least meet a 2.0 GPA in the courses that you take towards your associate degree program or certificate at the community college that you're attending as a Futures for Frontliners scholarship recipient. So first, you have to meet the satisfactory academic progress. If not, then that 2.0 GPA. But in terms of dropping the classes, I would have to know more about this before I give you a definite response. If you want, you can send me your email address. I'm happy to follow up with you.
All right, and I believe this question would be for Erica. How about if you're enrolled in GED or other high school completion program already? Would you be eligible?
Yeah, absolutely. Assuming you met the other eligibility requirements, you'd be eligible for Path 2. If you obtain your GED prior to the end of the application period on December 31st, then you could apply directly to community college.
Thank you. And I know we touched on this one, in terms of if somebody's already in school at the community college level, but maybe we can clarify, how do they apply for Futures for Frontliners if they're already in school? You know, what are some of the different steps or things for them to consider?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you're already in classes right now, you should apply for the Futures for Frontliners scholarship to see if you're eligible for the scholarship. You have to do that before December 31st. And the next would be to follow up with your community college to see if you need to submit an updated FAFSA. I'm not sure, but those would be great questions for the community college. You have to at least submit your scholarship application first, but then I would check with your community college.
All right, well, thank you to all of our presenters today for answering these questions. We are out of time for this live event, but if you have any other questions, there's a lot of really great resources on the Michigan.gov/Frontliners website. And if you have any issues with your application or questions along the way, the Treasury Customer Care Center number is up on the screen now. We'd encourage you to reach out if you need support there. And with that, we thank you for joining us, and good luck with your Futures for Frontliners application. Goodbye.